Hey guys, thanks for tuning in to another video on ForgottenWeapons.com. I'm Ian McCollum, and we are here today at Moons Out 2025. That is our night rifle match. It's super cool this year. The stages are fantastic, and we're going to have a really good time. And for my second run of the match, I am using a Lage Max 11A1/15. This is a transferable Cobra M11A1 380 machine pistol lower, combined with a conversion upper that turns it into a magazine-fed, open bolt firing 5.56, courtesy of Richard Lage. So it's a little bit of a hybrid, kind of clunky looking gun. I think it's really cool. I have this set up with a longish, heavy profile barrel. I put a Black Label bipod on it, so I have an integrated fold-down bipod. I have an Aimpoint Comp M5, or Comp M4, sorry, or Comp M4. I can remember my Aimpoint designations. On here, I normally have a magnifier on it, and it's on a spur ballistic adjustable mount. None of the ballistic adjustable stuff is relevant tonight. I left the magnifier off. It's just a red dot for passive aiming if I want that. And then from Ivan at Kit Badger, I borrowed a B.E. Myers Maul as my laser aiming module. It is an awesome piece of kit. It's unfortunately eye-wateringly expensive, but really good and really easy to use. And then I topped the whole thing off with a PTR Vent 5.56 suppressor. So we are going to go ahead and run this. It is select fire. I will be shooting mostly semi-auto because that's how it's going to mostly be best for the match, but there are some places where I'll do full auto. YouTube, of course, does not allow me to post the full auto footage, so we'll be censoring some of that out. But full version of the match with all of the actual shooting is, of course, available on the History of Weapons and War streaming app. So I'll have a link in the description text below to the full version of the match if you'd like to see it. That is a subscription-only service. It supports a whole bunch of different channels in the historical educational firearms space. We'd love to have you over there. Obviously, if it's not something you can afford or not something you're interested in, we totally get it, and you'll get 90% of the match in this video. So, with that bit of explanation done, let's jump into our first stage.
Stage 1, Rambo's Reading Rainbow. Okay, you all failed basic first grade reading. Now you have to do it again, but with nods and guns. And this stage is sponsored by TNVC, Tactical Night Vision Company. I am actually using night vision goggles that I purchased from TNVC. When the timer goes off here, you have to open up the box and you have your stage instructions for the first half of the stage printed on the inside of the box, and you have to use your nods to read them. I've copied them here so you can see it. The stage begins using a cannon to try and put a tennis ball through the upright supports of a target, which is essentially impossible. I think a couple people got it, but very few. There are no sights on the cannon, so it's kind of just a luck of the draw thing. Anyway, once you take a shot with that, you then use your own rifle to engage the first set of target requirements, which is engage all 8 plates on the spinners with 1 hit each. You don't have to spin anything, you just have to hit all 8 plates. Now, I went into this figuring, what the heck, it's a machine gun. I'll just use it like a machine gun. This proved to be wildly ineffective. So I apologize for YouTube's policy here, but I can't show you the full auto. This is me completely failing to hit anything in full auto. At this point, I switch this over to semi-auto. Still open bolt semi-auto, but as you'll see here, that was much more effective. So there's my first hit. Again, we don't have to spin these. We're just using essentially 4 spinners as 8 static targets. So you were required to shoot these standing. You were required to hit all 8 of the plates in this first segment. If you did any of that wrong, the RO wouldn't tell you what to do, but would warn you to check your instructions. The point of this stage was to force people to be able to read instructions up close and then engage targets at distance with their nods going back and forth. So once I complete that first section, I then have to go to a second box and read a second set of target instructions. These were a bit more complex. They were not delivered as like discrete bullet points or anything. Also, I ran out of ammo and didn't realize it. I'll reload there. It was deliberately all like one paragraph full of text to force people to think about it, and ideally to force people to have to come back to those instructions and reread them because they were kind of intended to be a little too complex to get all in one go and then complete the stage. So I did in fact have to go back here. I'm like, all right, wait, I got the bottom two. Now what? Right. All right. Last one, 2 hits on the left spinner, and then you engage one more time with the cannon. So took me a couple tries here, but got my hits on the spinner, and then I'm like, all right, cool, I'm done. Right? I think, oh no, I'm not done. I still have to do the cannon part. And my bipod's not long enough to stand the gun up with a magazine. So we then do essentially the same engagement with a second cannon. At this point, I had no expectation of being able to hit the thing, and so I just kind of winged it up into the air and was way over the top.
177.35.
Stage 2, SEAL Team Extraction. Your SEAL team has just raided a drug lab, and the security force has counterattacked. You have stolen a Humvee and are making your escape, running a gauntlet of narco bad guys doing their best to stop you. And this stage is sponsored by Nocturn Industries, your supplier for all sorts of fantastic night vision related products. Pretty simple stage instructions here. You sit in the back of the Humvee, which is going to drive in a loop. And on half that loop is getting you down to the beginning of the stage, and the trip back, you are shooting out the back of the Humvee at a sequence of 3 targets. The first one starts directly in front of you, and then there will be one on the left and one on the right. This is the one stage where I figured the full auto would really actually help me, and it kind of did. I didn't do as well. I actually did worse on this with full auto than I did on semi-auto, although if I could do it a second time, I think I could do a lot better, having a better idea of what works properly for bracing this thing with night vision. I put 120 rounds through this rig on this stage. Unfortunately, it was all in full auto bursts and dumps, and so I can't show any of that to you on YouTube. It was quite fun. You can see the suppressors starting to get a little bit of a glow there. I used a D60 for the second target. Now, I kind of messed up the second target here. I ran the gun dry on the first target, and then I forgot to charge it. So when I went to pull the trigger, nothing happened. I had to rack the thing, and then I was able to successfully mag dump all 60 rounds onto the second target, leaving the barrel glowing, and by the end of this stage, the suppressor's glowing in the visible spectrum, not just the infrared spectrum. So there's our third target. I dump another 30 rounds onto that, and I end up with a total of 31 hits on steel, which gives me 5-second bonus each, which gives me a massively negative score on this stage, which was super fun, and I love having this stage. We'll definitely do it again next year. Stage 3, the Mogadishu Marathon. You have loaded all the wounded onto the UN convoy, but there is no room for you. You have to run alongside the convoy and provide fire support. Sponsored by Polaris Worldwide Logistics. If you need to get guns to Somalia or anywhere else, Polaris is your solution. Who doesn't like literally running and gunning? The concept here is you have to run down, it's not a mile, it's about a 200-yard bay. Along the way, there are 3 little side bays, and each one of those has a pair of poppers in it. And you have to engage those poppers. Sorry, I'm using full auto here again, which did actually work for me. I was able to knock down all of these poppers, but you have to shoot while moving. You're not allowed to stop. And there is a pickup truck following you, and if you go too slow or attempt to stop, the pickup truck will get unpleasantly close and start honking at you. So I slowed down, but I definitely kept moving there. Once you've engaged all the poppers, you run to the VTAC here, and you then have a sequence of engagements on a pair of steel targets. At this point, I switched to semi-auto because I knew quite well at this point that firing, even while braced, if I need to hit a small point target like this with the laser, much better off using semi-auto than full. So it took me a couple shots to find the target on the right. As you can see here, this is the first-person view through my nods. The left side target was pretty easily visible. The right side target was a lot dimmer. And we found that throughout the course of the match. Some targets, lighting conditions would vary, and sometimes just the difference from being on one side of the bay to the other made a huge difference in how much you could actually see. I had my first malfunction here. I hadn't cleaned the gun, the Lage, before I came out to the match. it started getting dirty, especially with that 120 rounds of mag dumping suppressed on the Humvee. And I had a malfunction here where the bolt went forward without sufficient energy to actually fire. So racked it, and it went back to working, fortunately. At the end of the first day when we got back to the house, I did definitely clean the gun up. But we'll touch on that a little bit later on. Here we are engaging through the VTAC using the laser, so I don't have to have my head behind. And unfortunately, I got a 60-second penalty here because I forgot to pick up my D60 drum, and leaving gear behind is a penalty at this match. Stage 4, Home Invasion. The black helicopters are real, and they are coming for you. Unfortunately, your no-load buddy that's been sleeping on your couch for the last 3 months has set off your Claymore Roomba and has been severely wounded. Brought to you by Refuge Medical and Magpul. Thanks to Magpul for the mags, and thanks to Refuge Medical for providing the medical briefing and assistance. The Echo Valley Training Center has an awesome HESCO barricade shoot house here. This is the second year in a row that we've used it for a medical stage. This time was wound packing. So you have to pull some gauze off of the drag dummies web kit and then pack this wound according to proper procedure. We have one of the guys from Refuge Medical here running the stage for us, keeping us on target with it, making sure we're doing things correctly. Once you've got sufficient gauze into the wound, you then have to put pressure on it, direct pressure with both hands for 30 seconds. Now, if you completed this whole medical stage in under 100 seconds, you got a bonus, which most of us did. I certainly did. If you have any experience with wound packing, any medical training, this shouldn't be a problem at all. Now, once that 30 seconds of pressure was up, you then have to go grab not your gun, but your downed buddy's gun, which is basically an M4 with iron sights. You get a 28-round magazine of frangibles, and you then have to go through the shoot house and engage all the steel targets. And yes, this is steel at like 5 feet, and that's why we supplied everyone with frangible ammo to keep this safe. It is really fun and interesting to be able to go through a shoot house like this with steel targets at close range. It's a lot of fun. This is, like I said, the second year we've done a stage like this. We're definitely going to repeat it again next year because it's just so much fun. You get to the back of the shoot house, there are 2 targets there to engage, and then you're all finished. So if you run out of ammo, you only have 28 rounds, run out of ammo, you will get some penalties, and that's just tough luck. I did really well in this one, 8th of the whole match. Stage 5, the Siege of Camp A-107. Intel has found out that the VC have been building ladders and making coffins. An attack is assumed to be imminent, and your Special Forces A-team has been charged with defending Camp A-107. This stage is sponsored by Flux Defense, makers of the Flux Raider, the coolest thing you can do with a SIG 320.
That's what it's all about, Mr. Beckworth!
Taking a page from John Wayne here, Green Berets.
Stand by.
We have a mortar simulator. Boom, which was really cool. That was an idea of Les Winter from Polaris, and man, he executed it well. It was really cool. We're using a stun grenade, dummy stun grenade to get that effect. And you can see the mortar tube still smoking. At any rate, you start the stage by dropping the simulated mortar round. You then have 3 targets to engage out in the open forest. And then you have to run up the trench line to get more ammunition for the mortar. So we had a drone operator with a thermal drone here getting some footage for us on the media squad, which was really cool. It gives you sort of a different perspective on the stage. Got not just a regular ammo can, but a 40 millimeter ammo can full of rocks, nice and heavy. And the base of this trench is uneven and has a bunch of rocks and is covered in leaves and is a little tricky to negotiate. So you go too fast, you're going to face plant on your mortar can, which you don't really want to do. So you want to go as fast as possible, as slowly as necessary. And then you come back and make 2 more sets of engagements on the steel. I had a second one of those malfunctions. A little too much friction in the gun. Bolt went forward without enough energy to actually fire. So I just had to rack it, and once again, it started working again. Fortunately, this is our last stage for the first night. I'm running down the trench a bit gingerly here because I really don't want to wipe out on some rocks. Get the second ammo can for the mortar. Make your way back up to the mortar. drop the ammo can, and then you will finish the stage with two more sets of engagements. So it's one hit on each target, and then repeat one more hit on each target. No double taps. So number 2 and number 3. These targets were pretty easy for me to see with the nods. They were highlighted out there with some glow sticks, just so people would have a chance to see them. Unfortunately, had a bit of an issue with the malfunction, cost me some time on that stage. But that is the end of our 5th stage. We had 2 nights of the match, 5 stages each night. So stick around for tomorrow when I will have stages 6 through 10 and the final results. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. This was a massively successful, super fun competition. And hey, hopefully we'll see you there next year. Thanks for watching.